Good morning. Our hand today is going to be pocket 6. This is a 5 NL game. Folds around to me. I open raise the 4 and big blind calls. So small blind raising range. Basically that. Any 2 suited cards. Or at least that's what we're going for now. At this time may have been different. Now, Villain 7 has 32-17 range, 8%, 3-bet, 24% call, pre-flop 2-bet. We can see that he has a 3-bet blind versus steal range of ace-queen off, but he has a regular 3-bet range of like 8s plus. Looks like ace-jack suited. He has a king-7 suited that he's raised, ace-queen off. He's got call 2-bets from blind range. He's got some queens in there. We don't know if that's a steal or if that's like early position type situation. But if we look at his actual stats from the button, he plays about 30%. 3 bets, 17, 7, 3 out of 18 or whatever. And then he calls a 2-bet 3 out of 18, so 17%. So what I think he's going to do, so I started with like about almost a 30% range, 28, 29% range. And then I started taking out hands that I think he probably would 3-bet here, in a blind versus blind situation. So I kind of think 8s plus. You've got 10-9 plus, ace-10 suited plus, ace-jack plus, your king-queens, king-jack suited. I'm going to assume he would have raised those. And then all the other ones he's just kind of coming along. So we'll just go with this range. Flop is Jack 9-3. We raised. It's on us. Do we bet? Do we not bet? I don't think that's a. I think it's a kind of a. At best, it's probably a neutral flop. I think that's at best. Might actually favor Villain a little bit more in terms of his calling range. Yeah, we have a lot of hands that'll hit it, but we also have a lot of hands that are going to miss it. So that's why I kind of said I kind of feel like this is more neutral, or at best it would be a neutral flop for us. We're out of position. I think we look at this and think, if we c-bet, what kind of hands are going to be calling? What kind of hands are going to be folding? I think there's a lot of hands that are going to call. So and it's going to be tough to say what happens, because you could have a jack, you could have a 9. I bet a jack calls, a 9 calls, any of your straights. So I bet king queen, queen 10, 10 8, probably 8 7 is going to call. So I think, fortunately, I think king queen isn't in his range. I'm going to assume that it's a raising range, but he could have a lot of the straight draws. And then you're dealing with any queen. It's your queen, king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 8, 7 is probably going to be a bad card. So I think there's a lot of bad cards that could come, which I think this tends to lean towards a check. So with our c-betting range, I don't think I'm going to have a c-betting range. And I think we're not going to have a c-betting range because we don't really have any solid draws. I mean, we've got open-ender. Yeah, we've got the gut shots that we could play. But I think since we have so many hands, I think this hand probably plays better as a check. And then maybe a check raise with our sets. Let's get this. Maybe a check raise with our sets. 2 pair. Maybe our overpair. Overpair could be like a check call. Open ender, and maybe our gut shots. I think gut shots are going to be a little bit too much. So maybe just 2 pair plus in our open-ended straight draws. I think that could be like check raise. And then we're looking at like a check call with a lot of these other hands, including like a bottom pair. So since we're checking, we're going to have to call at least once, because Villain could be betting since we showed weakness. He does seem to be a little bit more aggressive with the c-bets. I've got to fold the c-bet when he is out of position of 0%. So, you know, he hasn't folded zero times, but I think that's kind of my play. So I checked, which is going to maintain all of my hands. So if it gets checked through, I still have these good hands. Yeah, I still have these really good hands in my range if I check, and he checks it through. So what does villain do? Villain checks it behind. Do I think he's gonna? I think maybe a set. We're gonna say maybe he gets tricky, but probably not. I think top pair would have bet. I really do. I think middle pair probably bets too. Although maybe not. Some people like look at it and say, well, I'm scared to bet because of what I might have. So I think we're going to do something like that where he checks and he basically has everything else in his range too. So we've got our entire range. We've narrowed some of his hands down because I think he would have bet here. All right, there's the 8. 8's a hard one. As I said, it's one of those cards that's going to be hard for us to bet. It went check. If we bet, what's going to call? And we've got 6s. I don't think 6s have much showdown value here. So at this point, I kind of feel like we should be betting. And I think since we checked with all of these, I think we're going to be betting now with our straights, our sets, our 2-pair, overpair, our top pair. I think we're betting all of those for value. I think we're betting the open-ender as a bluff. Probably maybe a gut shot too. We're throwing a bluff in. I think if we add all of our gut shots, it's going to be way too many. But like a king-queen. King-queen works because we have 2 overcards. It's not due 6-5. I think with our bluffs, we're probably adding in. Let's see here. 10s is already in here. We're probably adding in. The middle pair is probably for some value. And then I think the weak pairs are going to be a lot of our bluffs here. Probably a lot of the bluffs. So I think that's kind of what we should be betting once it went check. I know it's going to be scary to bet here, but he showed weakness. And the question is, what kind of hands would do this with? I think any big hands, well, against a thinking player, any big hands could be looking for that check raise because of the texture of the board. Yeah, I think aces and kings, a lot of people would think you're going to be betting those. I think jacks, like ace jack, king jack, a lot of people would c-bet those. But because our range is so wide, I think it works better as a check in that case. And the fact that this board's probably slightly favoring the caller's range than our range. I think we have 8s and jacks, 8s, 9s, and jacks. I think versus the caller, you know, if we assume he would have raised with those pairs, then yeah, we've got some nut advantage, but he could also have a lot of those straight draws, so he would have some equity. I didn't check, which I think may be a mistake. So I think we're going for value. We're trying to get some value from some of these hands. And if he wakes up with a big hand and raises us, then you know, we can fold all of our weak hands. Probably fold our overpair. Maybe call a 2-pair. Maybe call sets. I think that's going to be one of those. We're not going to be happy when we get shown that straight, because it's like, yeah, who check raises anything other than a straight? I mean, I did that. I got check raised on the turn last night, and I thought, man, maybe he has, like, you know, I had king queen, and it was like a queen up on the board, and I thought maybe he has like a queen jack, queen 10. Nope, he had trips. It's like I knew it. I shouldn't have ever called that turn. And I talked myself into it, saying top pair, you know, second kicker's too strong to fold. It would be too nitty to fold. No, you know what? It might seem like it's too nitty to fold, but the check raise on the turn indicates a big hand. You almost never see that unless it's a big hand. So I missed here. And at this point, I'm going to narrow my range. So I'm going to say from their perspective, I kind of think maybe we're going to say like maybe the straight I have 50%. So maybe I'm slow playing the straight. I do think a set could be, well, set's also kind of like a 50%. Because, you know, maybe I'm scared of the straight. Two pair, I could give a check. Yeah, I guess I could give all of these. I've got all of these still. Let's get all of those. So I guess we've got all of those, but I'm going to say straights and sets are about 50% because some of the times I'm going to be betting. Now he checks again. At this point, I don't think the straight's going to be checking behind. I think there is a chance that the set does check, maybe about 50%. Again, just because he's scared, he's planning to call. I think two pair, same thing. He could be betting, or he might be scared of the straight. And again, you see monsters under the bed. And then I think he's got everything else here. So you can see we're still slightly ahead with our pair. We see a 9. That doesn't change anything. So I think whoever's ahead now is probably still going to be ahead. So at this point, do we get some value by betting? Do we check and hope he bets? Or do we just check, hope for a showdown, free showdown? I think if we bet, what kind of hands call? I think the only hands that call are going to be hands that like beat us. So like the weak pairs. I don't think like 2s, 4s, 5s, or 6s calls us. I don't think those bottom pairs, you know, the 3s call us. I think we're only getting called by better. I think we're only getting called by better here, and that would be 3 of a kind, or the full house. All right, so the 9, a full house. I thought he would have had a straight. I thought I specified that. No, oh no, yeah. I said he wasn't going to slow play it. He would be betting that. Yeah. So I don't think this is going to be a bet for value. I think it's going to be a bluff. So I don't think I'd really need to turn my weak pair into a bluff. I think that's value. Same thing with like a top pair. I don't think I need to turn that into a value. So I kind of think we're going to be betting our full 3 of a kind plus. That's our betting range. Our over pairs a check. I think all of those are check. And then what we could do is turn in some of our nothing hands into a bluff for balance. And I think what we're doing here is, let's clear that. I think maybe we want to have the 10 in there. Gives him a chance of having like a busted straight. So maybe like these cards, these really low cards, is what we're looking at as like bluffing. Maybe something like that. I think it's what our betting range should be. I checked, so we're gonna say we're in that region. And then villain checks behind. So when he checks behind, I think that definitely narrows the range. We're looking at these weak pair A side nothing. I think that's my expectation of him. So we see ace queen, which is actually a whole lot stronger than what I expected. So we're gonna have to, I assumed he would have 3-bet that, but he didn't. So we're gonna go ahead and take a note. BvB call SB for BB RFI in big blind with ace queen of diamonds. it was check, check, check on a jack of diamonds, 9 of spades, 3 of clubs board, and then 8 of hearts, 9 of hearts. So we misread his hand. Still was kind of weak. Didn't have anything, didn't have a pair. It's a lot stronger. I think with the ace queen, he's probably going to call as a bluff catch. So I think, the ace high, if we add that in there, so he did ace queen of diamonds. Maybe he does, so if he just calls with the ace queen of diamonds, then maybe he's doing something like this. Queens plus and really playing slow versus it, which changes. Now he has, now I think the board favors him more. We both can potentially have the nuts with trips, but I think he's got fewer cards that are junk that he's going to be getting rid of. So, overall, the density of his range is stronger, or the higher density of stronger hands. There's a higher density of stronger hands in his range than in my range. Might have the same number of combos, but if his range is, let's say, 100 hands, which I know it's not 283 combos. So out of 283 combos, he's got maybe, let's say, 50% that are strong or could be strong. We've got 578. We only have that same, so 50% out of 283 is like 140. So we might only have 140 strong hands in our range too, but it constitutes a smaller percentage. That's what I'm saying. So I think pre-flop's fine. I think the flop check is fine. I think once flop check happens, then I think we could look towards betting the turn. I think betting the turn makes sense with our bigger hands. We're getting value, and then with some of our smaller hands, and I think sixes would qualify as one of the betting range, turning it into a bluff, because I don't think we could really win unimproved. We did, but I think that's only because he had ace queen. I think when we bet the sixes, we fold him out. He's going to fold out his equity. Now he might call hoping for the gut shot, which is great because then he's giving us money. But I think we missed the turn. I think we missed the turn bet. I like the river check. I think there's other hands that we can bluff with. Not sixes. We win sixes versus these unimproved aces. Whereas our weaker hands, they don't win against those unimproved aces, and those are hands that we might actually get to fold. We do have to know our player. We'd have to check to see, is he capable of folding? Is he capable of folding? So he has folded, 56%. He is capable. So, all right, that's a hand messed up. I think we missed the turn bet. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you do, look tomorrow for another one.